Between the here, between the now.
Song of the Sea. Let's step back a little bit, back to the start of the 2010 decade. The Irish animation studio Cartoon Saloon had just amazed audiences with The Secret of Kells by mixing Celtic mythology with unique hand-drawn animation that's meant to emulate the flat medieval art style. So much so that it managed to get an Oscar nomination for Best Animated Feature, which then gathered mainstream attention to what this independent studio can do. This left Cartoon Saloon co-founder and director Tom Moore in a position to step up his game. What can he do in his next film to elevate the accomplishments he did in Kells and still surprise audiences with Celtic legends? So with his answer of those questions turning out to be Song of the Sea, can the film present the beauty of Ireland mythos and animation, or did it leave audiences feeling like Maclear? Let's find out. The story. While it does have a story to tell, the movie's main goal is to present its audience the world that the movie is set in. The Secret of Kells already touched upon Celtic lore, but its main focus is regarding the legendary books. This time around, the main presentation is all about the myths. What the story serves is a segue to meet up with one legend to the next, where Ben and Saoirse have to find their way home in the lighthouse, but would later learn more about who Saoirse is and why this mission is more urgent than ever. In a way, the execution of the writing is very reminiscent to some of the Studio Ghibli films like Ponyo, Howl's Moving Castle, and Spirited Away. It is aware that there is a plot going on, but it rather wants to take the time to give audiences a tour of the setting and meet the extraordinary characters along the way. This kind of storytelling allows the movie to explain all that it wants to say, not just regarding the Celtic myths, but its interpretation of them.
Let them control you. Now see what I've become because of those terrible feelings.
Which reminds me, the way the film is presented is in partly an urban environment, where some of the characters adapted to the modern times, but still holds on to the elements that would give the movie a timeless feel. However, even with everything that's been going on around them, this is still Ben and Saoirse's story, and in that aspect, that's where you could find the emotions of this feature. The plot would slowly but surely develop the relationship between Ben and Saoirse, and the stronger their bond becomes, the more powerful the movie is, and the more audiences could connect with their feelings as they find their way back home. You could tell that this is the kind of writing that requires a lot of research, a lot of heart, and a lot of talent in order to make the story feel like an incredible journey. The animation. It would be difficult to know how Cartoon Saloon would top itself after The Secret of Kells visual-wise, but somehow they did it. The animation not only contains the same use of unique artistry found in its predecessor, but also made it look smooth and more complete. What is noticeably more polished in this one is the character animation. In almost every scene, the characters would always be moving instead of staying stationary when it's not their turn to have a moment to shine. It's often very subtle, but the extra effort put into all of it is what presents the dedication to the medium. On top of that, considering all the mythical characters the kids meet, they would present a lot of creative and fun movements that bring the movie to life, like Maka and her owls, the fairies, and my personal favorite, the Great Shanachie.
Yes! Yes! Oh, I am the Great Shanachie! I'd almost forgotten.
As for the design of the characters, they still share Cartoon Saloon's signature style, where the characters mostly consist of simple shapes with some lines overlapping to define their look, but it also has a softer approach where they look more rounded than have any sharp corners around them. As for the backgrounds, that is where a lot of detail in the movie can be found with a mix of styles. Some can go a little more abstract and feature a lot of swirls to capture the feeling of a more supernatural environment, like in the ocean or in the Great Shanachie's cave. And then there are moments where it can have a more natural approach with strong uses of greens and painting like landscapes of forests and mountains. Even when going to the city, it can be more stylistic with a flatter approach. It is pretty rare in recent years to find some good quality hand-drawn animation, but it's even more rare in general to find animation this good. The characters. As it is the type of film that would prominently display its characters with some of them having their own scene to present themselves, it's a guarantee that people will walk out with a favorite one. Let's start off with the main girl of the picture, Saoirse. As a mute 6-year-old girl, she discovers that she is a Celtic just like her mother. But as the movie would progress, her importance to the mythical creatures become more prominent and urgent, since she can't separate herself from who she truly is, hence why it's a big deal that she would have to get back home. As for her father Connor, he is truly a broken-hearted man. Ever since he lost his wife, he just wants to make sure that his kids are safe and not lose them as well, even if he can seem pretty tough on them. As for the Celtic legends, they each present a larger-than-life personality that adds a little comical tone or can add intensity to a scene for more danger. But then, you have Ben. If I would have any problems with this movie, it would have to be with him, since he gave a really bad first impression. During the first act, he acts like a total brat, unhappy with everything in his life and bossing around his little sister.
Mom gave it to me, not you. She's stealing from me again. She's nothing but a dirty stealer.
I don't want to hear it.
It doesn't help either that Granny would also sour the mood by trying to over-discipline the kids. It leaves most of the first act to be mean-spirited and gets rather difficult to even be on Ben's side in the first place. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Ben is a bad character. Later on in the film, he becomes a lot more developed and likable as his bond with his sister grows. But it's just with everyone in a bad mood, it feels like the movie started off on the wrong foot. But even if the characters aren't great at first, they do warm up quickly afterwards to present a strong cast. Song of the Sea is one of the greatest representations of how independent films are the hidden gems of animation. Sure, it may have a rough and awkward start, but then it would present its true beauty with an amazingly crafted story, phenomenal hand-drawn animation, and charmingly creative characters. If you would ever be in the mood to watch something outside of the mainstream circles and from those major animation studios, then this is one that's in the category of a must-watch. In fact, the film counts as a must-watch in general. With the way that animation fans have been protesting for years to see the comeback of beautiful hand-drawn animation in feature films, they don't realize that it's still alive and well. They're just not looking at the right places. But when they do found something like this, they'll discover something that is worth the AniMat's seal of approval. Hey guys, this is AniMat's. I just want to start things off by giving a huge thanks to Gordon Rajani, not only for his amazing support on Patreon, which allowed him to go and get some amazing rewards, including this one where he gets to have a review of Song of the Sea, but also to give me the opportunity to give it a second chance. Because funny enough, the last time that I actually saw this film was way back when the hype was starting to really build up. It was just a few days before the Oscars where it was nominated for Best Animated Feature, and I actually saw it in theaters during an Irish film festival. And admittedly, I did not like it as much as Secret of Kells. I did like it, I did think it was a really good movie, but I didn't really see like the massive hype. I didn't see like, oh my god, this is an amazing movie. I just thought it was like a pretty good film. And I guess the big reason was mostly because of the bad first impression that it got, that it gave me such a distaste at first with Ben and Granny and like the foul mood that the whole family had in general. It's just, it was a bit of a turnoff, and it took me a while to really warm up to the characters as the movie would progress. But now that I finally do have a second chance to go and see Song of the Sea, not just that, but to fully analyze it, I feel like right now I would say I'm in the position where I equally like The Secret of Kells and Song of the Seas, but for completely different reasons. It's just that these movies, they have their pros and cons, but like they kind of end up in the similar place where I really do love them both, and I really do appreciate the accomplishments that they have done, especially now that I did get my second chance with Song of the Sea. I do see what people love from it, and there are some things I do admit it actually did better than The Secret of Kells, including the narrative flow of the story, and also how the animation is a lot more smooth. But this is not to say that The Secret of Kells is inferior. I do feel like there are some great things about it as well, and maybe some things it actually did better than Song of the Sea. Like, even though Kells has very few characters, they are still very well constructed, and from beginning to end, they're just absolutely fantastic. So, at least in terms of the characters, Kells does have a bit of an upper hand. But overall, like I said before, even with the different pros and cons, they're still both amazing animated features, and they really do present very well the power of not just what Tom Moore can do, but also of what Cartoon Saloon can do. So both these films I highly recommend to go and check out. But anyways, now that we are done with Song of the Sea, it is now time that we go and move on to the animation hat. And by the way, before I go and pick this one out, I just want to mention that if you guys would like to be like Gordon and you want to go and support my work and get some awesome rewards at the same time, including going to see my videos before anyone else, then all you have to do is go to patreon.com/animat. But at the same time, if you guys would like me to go and, or if you would like to suggest an animated film you would like me to review and I would put onto the animation hat, then all you have to do is write me an email at animatsreviews@gmail.com. Okay, so with all that said, let's go and get things started. Which one that I can go pick? Alright, we actually got one now. And the next review shall be... Wait, there we go. What? Oh boy. Now we got a real interesting one to look into. This is probably their least popular movie that they have done. And oddly enough, this is coming from the most popular animation studio out there. But still, regardless, it's gonna be real interesting looking into what many people refer to as the black sheep of Disney.
Blasted humans! They don't have a clue.